Welcome to the Gen X Journey podcast. Dive into all things important to Gen Xers, from advice on aging parents, expert interviews, product reviews, and heartfelt conversations. So put down the joystick, grab your Walkman, dust off your old yearbooks, and welcome to the Gen X Journey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gen X Journey podcast. This is Steve. I'm back with Noel and Keith. In today's episode, we're going to do our first official deep dive of the Gen X Journey podcast, and Noel's going to lead the way with a deep dive into Eddie Murphy. So Noel, take it away.
Eddie Murphy, one of my favorite actors of all time. And I don't know, I spent a lot of time watching movies I probably shouldn't have watched back in the 80s and 90s. Eddie Murphy was hilarious. And so I'm going to be doing a deep dive today into his whole life, from his early life through his career. And going to just take a deep dive into Eddie Murphy, one of the most influential comedians and actors of our generation. So
totally, I'm excited about this.
Good. Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, when you think of Gen X entertainers, Eddie Murphy is definitely one of those that belongs to us. I'll claim him. So
Absolutely.
great guy. But we're going to be going through his early days as a kid in Brooklyn to his meteoric rise in stand-up, SNL, blockbuster films, and then just kind of talk about Murphy's impact on comedy and pop culture in general. But a lot of struggles. Boy, he was determined. You'll hear some of that in this. He's an unforgettable guy, and like I said, proud to claim him as part of our Gen X. So Eddie Murphy was born April 3rd, 1961. So did the math, and that means this year, he is in April this year, he's going to be turning 64 years old. So if you don't feel old yet, think about Eddie Murphy being 64 years old.
That blows me away,
Right.
but
Wow.
to remind myself, I'm in my 50s, so it's not too surprising.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, this is true. But he was born April 3rd, 1961 in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in Bushwick, a pretty rough neighborhood during the 60s and 70s. Eddie's father, Charles, was a transit cop and a part-time comedian, but his father died when Eddie was just 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
In 1969, he passed away. His mother, Lillian, worked as a telephone operator and then later remarried after Eddie's dad passed away. Eddie credits much of his sense of humor to surviving the tough circumstances and entertaining himself and his older brother, Charlie Murphy, who would later become a comedian in his own right. Have you guys seen videos of Charlie Murphy?
No, I don't guess so.
It's his older brother, and I watched some videos in prepping for today of Charlie Murphy. It's creepy. Like the guy looks like Eddie Murphy, maybe 2 or 3 years older. His mannerisms are exactly like Eddie's. His voice is even like his. I imagine he probably spent a lot of time watching his younger brother on stage, and so I think he's kind of adapted and picked up some of his stage presence. It's pretty funny.
I see him here.
Right?
That's creepy. Wow. Yeah.
Isn't it? And
Wow.
if you listen to like his voice and stuff, and like I said, it's unmistakable. He's Eddie Murphy's brother. But
That's crazy.
anyway, so Charlie Murphy is his brother, and is a comedian in his own right. The turning point came when Eddie discovered Richard Pryor, Red Fox, and Bill Cosby, and these three, larger than life comedians became basically he listened to their comedy albums religiously, and he began to imitate their styles when sort of putting together and developing his own comedic voice. By the time Eddie was 15, he was already performing at youth centers and local talent shows. So he pretty much grew up in a rough neighborhood near Brooklyn, New York. Dad passed away when he was 8 years old, and he kind of turned to comedy as a way. I'm injecting this into this, but as a way of sort of coping with his surroundings.
Makes sense.
He was looking for a way out of the neighborhood that he was living in and sort of the circumstances he found himself in. His mom was working, like I said, as a telephone operator. And so it was probably pretty meager beginnings for Eddie Murphy. But at just 15, Eddie started sneaking into the comic strip club in Manhattan. If you're not familiar with that, I wasn't. Did a little work on this too, to kind of learn a little bit more about it.
It was called what?
The comic strip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's in Manhattan. It's a legendary club where many top comedians got their start. So comedians like Jerry Seinfeld got his start there at the comic strip. Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, and Paul Reiser, they all got their start there at the comic strip. So Eddie started sneaking into the club when he was 15 years old, not even driving age, snuck into the club and started performing. His performance style was pretty raw, but full of energy. He wasn't afraid to like talk about racial stuff. This is again back in the 70s, late, I guess, in the 70s. So he was talking about a lot of racial issues, did a lot of celebrity impersonations, and then just everyday life with a mix of confidence and his wild storytelling style that he likes to use in his comedy. He became a regular at New York comedy clubs, refining his routine and drawing attention from industry insiders. And then by the time he was 18, he was performing alongside established comedians, and his reputation for high energy, rapid fire humor made him a standout act. So those 3 years between ages 15 and 18, he was diving into the clubs, the club scene, comedy scene, comic scene in New York. And that's really where he fought his way in and got noticed, when he was 18 years old. So when he turned 19, this is where he got into SNL. So in 1980, SNL was really struggling. The departure of their original cast had just happened, which included comedy legends like Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Chevy Chase, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, and Garrett Morris. So they were suffering with low ratings and kind of uninspired sketches, and sort of kind of lost their way. And so they were looking for a spark to kind of reignite what was, a pretty good franchise up to that point. At just 19, Murphy persistently called talent coordinator Neil Levy for an audition. And then Levy was initially not interested, but Murphy refused to take no for an answer. Again, his persistence in pursuing his career started when he was 15, and going into the time that he turned 18, he got noticed on the scene. And then at 19, that same persistence carried him into SNL. And so he finally got an audition with Neil Levy, or Neil Levy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but got a chance to audition with him, and his electrifying performance just left the producer stunned. And so he automatically got picked up on the show. He was first hired as a featured player, meaning he wasn't like guaranteed very much screen time. He wasn't on like the regular cast, but he was a featured person that would be in like one skit or so per episode. But he pushed to be more involved. Often he would crash writing meetings, and he would pitch his own sketches. And so they were in there writing sketches, and he would just go in there and start pitching his own sketches, like, "Hey, do this. This is funny." And so again, that persistence is what really kind of carried him to where he is. His breakthrough came with a stand-up bit about a prisoner named Rahim Abdul Muhammad, which aired and became a hit, leading to more opportunities. And then within the year, Murphy was promoted to full cast member and became the show's saving grace, helping SNL recover from its slump of the early 80s. So he's made some made some. He pushed his way in, which is great. I'm glad he did because
Me too.
He's a legend. But Eddie was on SNL from 1980 to 1984, and in that time introduced some of the most memorable characters in comedy history. You'll remember Buckwheat?
Oh yes.
Tay.
Okay. I remember the buckwheat. Was it like the buckwheat album?
Yeah.
Yes.
So great.
Ties. Feed times.
Feed times I made it.
And then there's Gumby. I'm Gumby, damn it.
Not gum.
And then Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
Oh, I love that. This is how we answer the door in our neighborhood. Who is it?
Who is it? Again, kind of drawing on that neighborhood that he grew up in and stuff.
Yep.
So it was something he knew. Just hilarious. Who is it? Then James Brown in the hot tub.
Oh,
Y'all remember that one?
Absolutely. Shake it in the hot tub. Yeah, will it make me wet? Yeah, shake it in the hot tub. Yeah, will it make me sweat? Yeah, will.
Well. Oh man. Velvet Jones, a smooth talking businessman promoting hilarious and questionable self-help books. Yep.
Yes.
Did a Stevie Wonder impression. White Like Me. It was a famous sketch where Murphy disguised himself as a white man to explore racial dynamics in America. I don't remember that one. Do you?
Which one was this?
I don't.
Which was the last
Like
one?
Me.
I don't remember
White
that
Like
one.
Me. I don't either.
My wife just texted me telling me I need help. She didn't like our Eddie Murphy singing.
And then Little Richard Simmons, the parody blending fitness guru Richard Simmons with a flamboyant singer, Little Richard. Do y'all remember that one?
I don't remember that.
He would do that skit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I tell you,
one
of my other favorite songs from the Buckwheat Sings album was a dibba-da, a dibba-da-da, ba-day, dibba-day-da-die.
It's just a question mark.
Question mark. Good times.
So good.
That's good stuff. All right. So that was from 1980 to 1984. Beginning in 1983, he recorded Delirious, which is his stand-up comedy bit at that time. Have you guys ever seen Delirious?
I have.
Yeah.
That's one of those I knew I shouldn't watch, but I couldn't help
Right.
it because it was just hilarious.
Oh, man.
He was only 22 years old, and it had the ice cream man bit. Ice cream. And then he did James Brown impersonations. He talked about growing up in the 70s, the barbecue, where he'd go over to his uncle's house and he like Brontosaurus burger. You remember? Anyway,
I do.
The shoe throwing mother, and then Aunt Bunny falling down. Aunt Bunny falling down the stairs. Oh, good Lord.
So
he followed that up with Raw in 1987,
man,
which was one of the highest grossing stand-up film ever at the time. Like he had the Italian moviegoers bit, relationships and cheating, Bill Cosby phone call, McDonald's versus homemade burgers.
That's such a great
I don't
bit.
look like no burger. Oh, sorry.
that is one of the best. I love watching that. I need to go back and watch that this weekend. I love that show.
Eddie, half. Eddie, I want half. Oh, Lordy. All right. He recorded, obviously, he had a lot of blockbuster hits and stuff as well. So amongst those was the movie 48 Hours.
Oh, yeah.
That's where his film career really took off with 48 Hours in 1982. Beverly Hills Cop in 1984 really made him a superstar with Axel Foley's legendary quips. Tell tell Victor that Raymond, the fella he met about a week ago, tell him that Ramon went to the clinic today and I found out that I have herpes simplex 10. He had Trading Places in 1983,
Such a
Coming
great
to
movie.
America. Yeah. Coming to
America.
America 1988.
Oh man.
There's some great one-liners in that one too.
no
My
doubt,
goodness. Beef jerky time.
Manny New Year.
Manny New Year. And then who
Wasn't
could
that
forget?
was that Coming to America or was that Trading Places?
Trading Places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manny
You're
New
right.
Year.
You're right. Yep.
Beef jerky
The best
time.
way, the best way you hurt rich people is by turning them into poor people. That was from Trading Places.
Yeah.
And then Harlem Nights. I mean, my goodness, say no more.
Gosh.
That was in 1989. Now you want to shoot me in my pinky toe. Later in his career, he hosted SNL again in 2019. I missed that. I wish I had seen that.
Yeah.
And then he had some really like family friendly movies. He started, he did all the rated R movies back in the 80s and then in the 90s he kind of turned to more family friendly stuff. Like he did The Nutty Professor in 1996. The Hercules. When he's almost every character sitting around the table except for Arsenio.
Brilliant.
Hercules.
I don't need somebody to clean my colon. I clean my own colon.
Clean my colon right now. Dr. Doolittle, and then in the movie Shrek, he was the donkey.
The donkey.
Which was a really, really great character. And then Daddy Daycare in 2003.
That's a good movie.
Really, really good. So later in the 2010s, he kind of took a step back in the 2010s, but then returned in 2019 with a movie called Dolomite Is My Name. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, me either.
I'm familiar with the name. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't either. And he hosted SNL again in 2019, and then did Coming to America 2 in 2021. I don't think I've watched that either. I kind of like to leave those movies.
Yeah, it was good, but you just can't beat the original.
Yeah.
Isn't he making a new Beverly Hills Cop or Axel? Isn't that coming?
I don't know.
I swear I saw that somewhere.
Yeah,
like the Axel F.
Yeah. That the soundtrack for Axel F or for that movie was iconic too.
Yeah, this is bad. So apparently last year, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F was released. Believe it or not, it actually came out last year and nobody knew. Isn't that bad? Yeah,
that is bad.
I didn't know. I mean, I heard it was coming out, but I had no idea. It was already out.
Wow, that didn't make it into my update. That's sad.
That's bad.
But now Eddie Murphy was one of those comedians that kind of shaped our generation and was really amazing to watch. I was and still am a big fan of his stuff. And when I find myself like quoting movies from the 80s and 90s, usually it's an Eddie Murphy skit or something that's got Eddie Murphy in it. So
yes.
Harlem Nights, I think I've quoted that whole movie a few times over. So
I still remember on one of our camping trips watching Harlem Nights, and Noel said every single word almost the entire movie. It was amazing.
Yep.
I'm one of those. I'm really annoying to watch movies, and my wife is had talks with me before. It doesn't help, but
had some intervention.
It's like, yeah, you need to not start laughing until the joke's told. Like you can't just think it, because what I do is I anticipate what's coming, and then I already start laughing, cracking up, like 5 minutes before it even gets done. Anyway,
that's greatness. That's funny.
But Eddie Murphy is and still is a comedy legend, and
agreed.
Yeah, that's Eddie Murphy.
I'm trying to think of what other actor. I'm sure there's plenty, but has there ever been a more successful actor going from like massively R-rated material to kids, family stuff. I mean, that's a hard thing to accomplish, but he did it awesomely.
Yeah,
he did.
Like he kind of grew with his generation, like was able to like let us still enjoy him while the kids were in the room as we were growing older. Kind of interesting if you think about it that way,
Yeah, totally.
So I'm curious. I'm sure there's others. Like I'm having a hard time thinking about who else was that blatantly like curse wordy, full, filth ridden, comedy stand up, and then went to that. I'm just I can't think about who would be better. Who's better than that? Than Eddie Murphy at that. So but I agree with you, Noel. He is somebody that is definitely grown with our generation, and like you're right. Half the time, if it's a quote, it's probably popping in my head. It's probably Eddie Murphy's probably at least 50% of the time.
Yeah, I can't be on social media and somebody say the word Hercules without me going Hercules. Like I always post that meme like every time. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It could be really serious, but I still respond with the
Hercules. I agree. It's so funny. That whole skit, man, that's the greatest skit ever. Like you say, just the fact that he did almost every part in that. And it's so great. So
Arsenio Hall. I mean, Arsenio and Eddie made some great movies together. They were in Coming to America. They were in Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
They was he in Trading Places? I can't remember.
No, that was Dan Aykroyd, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, that's right. But Nutty Professor, he was in with them, I think. Yeah, it was good. But
that's awesome stuff.
Yeah,
man, good deep dive into Eddie. That was good.
Thank you very much.
I'll admit, as I heard Noel talking about Eddie's comedian career, I was thinking, man, God, he was such a better comedian than he was an actor. And I was like, stuck to that talking point until Noel started going through the list of movies. I was like, God, he was such a good actor too. And
right.
And like there's some great comedians, like their movies just aren't that good. And there's laughs in there, but it's not the level of acting and story that Eddie could tell. And
Yep.
Heck of a job, Eddie.
Yeah, no job, no doubt.
No job either.
No job. Oh, I was just reading that you said Charlie Murphy passed in 2017 to leukemia, Steve. Was that Charlie Murphy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. I guess.
Yeah, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't guess I now that you show me his picture, I probably have seen him before, and I guess I don't know. I just thought maybe it was like I was looking at Eddie Murphy on a bad day or something different. Like I didn't realize it was a brother. That's interesting.
As many different characters as he did, I wouldn't put it past Eddie Murphy to have like another like phantom character,
like an alter ego
Charlie.
Of himself.
Yeah, Charlie.
Exactly.
It would be totally in character for him to do.
It really would. It really would. That's awesome.
But he was very much like him.
That's great. Well, thanks for that, Noel. That was good stuff.
Good job.
So coming up in the next few episodes, we are going to talk a little bit about 15 influential events that shaped Generation X. And so I am excited for Steve to do or to tee us up with that topic. And then coming after that, we're going to do another deep dive into the story of the father of all video game systems and the company called Atari. And I'm excited about that. Should be fun. Lots of good history there. So stay tuned for what's to come the rest of this month.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Gen X Journey podcast belong solely to the hosts and guests and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of any entity they are associated with. The information provided is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek the advice of qualified professionals for any specific issues they may face. The creators and contributors of this podcast make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or validity of any information, and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its use.